welcome to everyone. As you're aware, it's the 75th anniversary of the murder of F.G. Evans. It's a particularly important year this year in that we're struggling and battling away with the local council to erect a memorial plaque in Waihi. To date we're having very little success. There seems to be a lot of division in the town, and there's certainly a lot of opposition within council, although it's certainly not unanimous. We have a number of councillors who are backing our claim to have a plaque erected at Waihi, but an even greater number of councillors unfortunately are reading too much into it and are assuming some political ploy involved in the whole exercise, and so at this time they won't let us erect a memorial plaque. So it was hoped that this year we'd be going down there and having a service and having an official opening of an official acknowledgement of the erection of the plaque. However, we'll have to save that for another year.
The points I want to make simply to deal with what was going on, why the Waihi strike, and eventually, regrettably, the death of Frederick George Evans. The early part of the century, the Miners' Union was registered under the Arbitration Act. That meant, as a union, it was compelled to go through the whole arbitration system in order to gain wage increases, conditions increases for its members. The members of the union increasingly lost confidence in the arbitration system, which is something any unionists here will sympathise with. During 1901 to 1907, the total gains out of the arbitration court was sixpence a week for the miners. This during a period when the safety conditions, work conditions in the Waihi mine were absolutely appalling, but the arbitration court refused to acknowledge those problems and refused to improve the conditions of working people there. The worst part of it was a contract system of gangs competing with gangs to undercut each other and in fact to downgrade the conditions of the mine. And when you're dealing with problems such as mine work and safety conditions, to have gangs competing with each other to speed up and to do it more cheaply was a most appalling system. After many years of struggle, the Miners' Union finally got to the point where they deregistered as a union. They were no longer registered under the Arbitration Act, and they were able to take action and started to negotiate with the threat of strike, which was possible now that they were no longer registered under the Arbitration Act. They started working as an effective negotiating union. The important move they made was in the negotiations was to involve the Federation of Labour. There's different organisations to the present one, but it's the forerunner of the present Federation of Labour. And that Federation of Labour, working with the Miners' Union, beat the contract system, a substantial increase in wages, some huge improvements in safety conditions and conditions generally. That led up to the 1912 strike because the employers decided that they had to beat the Miners' Union and had to beat the Federation of Labour, or they were going to be in serious trouble in the future. And what they did was they formed, the mine company formed a scab union. They formed what was then an engine drivers union. And of course the engine drivers were the most powerful on the site because they were the ones who ran the boilers, who ran the winches, lifting people up and down in the mine. So that a union was formed by the employers, registered with the arbitration court, and we had a scab union on the spot, and it was designed to destroy the Miners' Union and to destroy the Federation of Labour. It was that which led to the strike, because the strike was to remove workers who were set up by the employer and were part of the employers' union, to remove them from the Waihi pit. The intention of the strike was to support the miners' union, to support the newly developing Federation of Labour, to support the whole idea of organised labour, and to support the right to organise, the right to negotiate, and the right to bargain. Because of that, the Waihi strike became what is undoubtedly the most important and significant industrial action in New Zealand's early labour history. Regrettably, the miners were savagely beaten during the Waihi strike. But that was only one small war battle. The whole war, which was the future of organised labour in New Zealand, was won. It led to the strengthened Federation of Labour, it led to eventually to a strengthened miners' union, to the Federation of Labour today, and clearly in terms of what follows what, the new Council of Trade Unions, its origins too, in the battles at Waihi.
Any comments in regard to Frederick George Evans must also include our feelings for our late departed dear comrade George Haggard, a very substantial player in this event and in the trade union movement. The matter of conflict and the matter of violence, whether it be in 1912, 1913 or the Wellington Trade Call, is associated with the conflict between those who own the property, who own the industries, and those who work for those owners. That's an irreconcilable conflict, and the real length of that will only be determined when those who work for the employers take charge of the property itself. That will end that antagonistic conflict. Fortunately, in Waihi, a new development is occurring, and the long struggle for the erection of the plaque is more than putting a piece of copper in the appropriate place. It will signify, when we win that struggle, a portion of degree of recognition of the struggle that took place and what it meant for the labour movement and for the real people of this country. A lot more miners are going to be employed around the area shortly in different types of mining, and it's our intention to conduct a campaign of education amongst those miners about this whole situation. It is our intention to organise some feeling amongst those miners, to use their industrial and political pressure to win a situation where that plaque is erected and a signal mark of respect and due respect at that for the death of Frederick George Evans and the struggle of the miners in that country.
Before we have the next speaker, there are a couple of apologies that I tell you about at the start. Kim Douglas was due here this morning, but has been called away on something.
Thank you for the invitation to be here with you today at this remembrance ceremony. One of the things that Carl said, and all speakers have referred to, is the refusal of certain people in Waihi to allow a plaque to be erected. In a way, that demonstrates that although the labour movement in New Zealand has come a long way since the death of Frederick George Evans, there's still a long way to go. When we can have a country with a labour government, with most people accepting the basic things that the labour movement stands for, social welfare, protection of the weak and the underprivileged, when we can have those sorts of things but still have people in a town in New Zealand refusing to allow people who have a strong feeling, for whatever reason, to erect a plaque in memory of someone who they hold dear to their memory, it really demonstrates the sort of narrow-mindedness that the labour movement as a whole has been struggling against for probably centuries. And I think in a way it demonstrates the problems of the political wing of the labour movement. We have to deal, perhaps in many ways more than the union movement itself, with many people who find progressive completely foreign. And it's a long and difficult struggle to educate people like that to accept that working people have rights too, and working people have the right to work as a whole through their unions, to achieve progressive measures and to achieve better working conditions and pay for their members. It's a long struggle, and I believe it'll go on virtually until the end of time. It'll always be a two steps forward, one step back situation. We won't always be in power. Sooner or later the Tories will get back and we'll take one giant step back. And I think that we just have to accept as people who believe in the labour movement that that's the way things will be, and we can't lose heart. We've got to just recognise that people like Frederick George Evans, trade unionists of today, politicians of today who represent the labour movement are always going to have to struggle. We're never going to reach the situation where things are perfect. Well, certainly not in my lifetime, I'm sure. And what I want to say to you is that whatever you feel about the situation, never give up. It's very important that we continue that struggle, because the minute we do give up, we're not selling short ourselves, it's our children and our children's children, and that would be a terrible crime.
Thanks very much, Jack. I'd now ask Bill Waikaraka to lay a wreath and say a few words.
Before we honour the memory of Frederick George Evans by laying this wreath, Ladies Council and all of the friends of the working class of New Zealand, I want to say just a word or two. I've just attended the opening or inauguration of an organisation called WISE, Workers' Institute for Scientific Socialist Education. I'm sure that you'll all remember that associated with that movement of that kind was Michael Joseph Savage, Peter Fraser, 9 or 10 of the first cabinet of the Federation of the Labour government, first Labour government. Now when they, in 1912, just before the Waihi strike, they met, had their conference and adopted a preamble. That preamble was virtually a program for the action of the working class of New Zealand. I'm glad to hear Jack Elder tell us today of the importance of continuing struggle under all circumstances. Never get your tail down, but get into it and get the kids educated. The thing to remember of Michael Joseph Savage, who everybody claims as their friend today, but who, along with others, were thrown into jail or charged at least with sedition during the First World War, when all those blokes, including Semple and Fraser, were jailed for sedition because they opposed the war. Incidentally, some of us were charged in 1940 for saying the very same things. However, that shows you how things turn into their opposite. The only solid movement that can be relied upon to push forward the working class, the vast majority of the people in New Zealand, is the working class itself. It's in your hands to make the changes that are necessary. No government, no parliamentary party can do this, the working class alone. It's men, it's women, it's youth are the people that have the power to change society. I don't want to continue very long, but I do want to say this, that at the moment we're in a vital situation in which we're bringing into being one of the largest groupings of unionists in New Zealand. the Council of New Zealand Unions. It's vital that they should learn, and some among us, particularly from the Auckland Trades Council, should bring to their notice this program, because that program is a scientific analysis of the situation in New Zealand and provides the cement that providing we give pay tribute to that class struggle and adhere to it, we cannot be defeated. And I would disagree with only on that one point with Jack Elder. I think ultimately the victory of the working class is going to open a new era for the working people, all those who contribute to the wealth that has been created in this country by the labour of hand and brain. And with those few words, I'm honoured to be able to place on this monument this wreath in memory of Frederick George Evans. We salute you, comrade. We have set an example that means industrial life for the future of the New Zealand working class.
If you do want to leave your car here, we'll bring the bus back through here. Pick up the car afterwards. We'll probably be leaving Waihi, I think somewhere around about 3 o'clock. 3 o'clock at the latest. So that's the end of it for here, and hopefully everyone will come down to Waihi. Thank you. Andy?
Oh, sorry.
See you later.
Yeah. See ya. Have you been doing the language?
Oh,